Shalom and welcome to this evening's Torah class. We are delighted that you're joining with us today. Tonight we're going to study the Torah Parashat called Korah. That will be in Numbers 16, verse 1 through chapter 18, verse 32. We're going to get started here shortly, so please stand by. Shalom, everyone. We're going to try this again because I think my audio didn't go through. But we want to welcome you to our weekly Torah class. We're delighted that you're joining with us today. Tonight we're going to study the Torah Parashat called Korah. That is in Numbers chapter 16, verse 1 through chapter 18, verse 32. And today is the 29th day of the third month for this biblical calendar year 5778. And we are looking forward for the transitioning over of the new month, which will be tonight, Rosh Chodesh. Anytime that you have a question, we want to welcome you to ask that question in our chat room. Or if you're more comfortable, you can ask the rabbi at tzion.org. And I also want to let you know that we do have a yeshiva online, which is free Bible school. And we talk a lot about the foundational biblical Hebrew, biblical faith. And it's free to study and at your own pace. We're going to get started here shortly. Please stand by.
keeping that Torah scroll rolling, right? Rolling.
You're muted.
That scroll rolling. I don't have a microphone on. Hello. Yeah, my microphone is sick. We're having to take it to the microphone hospital and get it to working again. Along the course of the words that we were studying just before we went on camera, anachnu. All of you that can say anachnu.
Anachnu.
Anachnu, and it means we are.
We are.
Anachnu talmidim. We are students. Okay. Ata more or mora or something else. Ma, what? No, you're a Talmud. You're not a teacher.
I teach electronics, computers.
You're a fixer of electronic computers. There you go. Well, we're going to have a nice class this evening. I hope everyone's in a mood to study because we're going to just go ripping through your Bible and try to understand as much as we can as we're studying.
Amen.
Avinu Shabbat our Father who is in the heavens, we sanctify your name. We bless you. We ask you to be with us tonight as we study. This is your word we are studying. And we ask you to be with us as we study about Korach, who made a huge mistake. And we ask you, Father, to show us behind the scenes. Let us see the face that is speaking to us. Help us to understand the nature of our Almighty God. Amen. Hallelujah. So we give you all praise and glory in the name of Messiah Yeshua. And please join with us, Father, and open our hearts and minds to the truth. In the name of Yeshua the Messiah. And the congregation says,
Amen.
Amen. Now say, Father, I'm thirsty.
I'm thirsty.
Give me living water.
Give me living water.
And I'm hungry, Lord.
And I'm hungry, Lord.
I like a juicy steak tonight.
I like a juicy steak tonight.
In the Spirit.
In the Spirit.
From heaven.
From heaven.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
Hallelujah. Amen. You may be seated. I'm not used to holding this mic, so I'm kind of torn between two different worlds here. Well, tonight's Torah Parashat is Korach. And I bet you don't know what Korach means. It's not a very good word.
Isn't it like rebellion?
It means literally ice, but the root comes from another form of it, which means to depliate. In other words, to make ball, to pull out your hair.
Wow.
Kind of like a complete and total raising in the sense of a razor. Korah. It's got a guttural on the end of it. Korach. Rach. So let's just go ahead and read the first verse here. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahat ben Levi v'Datan v'Aviram b'nei Eliav v'Un ben Pelet b'nei Ruvain. Vayikach, the first word in our study, is on the right-hand side of the page. Starts off, Vayikach. Vayikach literally is understood to mean, and he took. He took. And that's because you've got a vav conversive working on a qual verb. And so you say, Vayikach. And I'm highlighting the part that's pronounced ye. I wanted you to see it real good here. Vayi. Okay. And the ye part of this means he. When you see the Yud, the smallest Hebrew letter, at the beginning of a word, that's a qual verb, it means he. That's the pronoun. And most often when it appears vayikach, well, not most often, but frequently you will see it with this verb, vav, in front of it. And the vav, that is a, well, it's normally translated and it's turns this qual verb into a vav conversive. And that means you treat it as though the pronoun came at the end of the word here. Let me get this out of my face. Kind of hard to do this with my hands full. Can you hear me okay now? Let me get this thing back. Okay, so we have vayikach, and that's translated and he took, and the he part of this is the yud, but we've got a special feature going on in the yud. This yud has a little period in the middle of it. You see that? And that is called a dagesh point. And that means you don't read it the same as usual. For a yud at the beginning of a qual verb, you will double the yud. In other words, you should actually picture it as though there are two yuds there in the beginning of that word. The first yud is a part of this vav conversive action that reverses the time frame that it takes place in. When you take a verb, for example, I drove, the word drove is a verb. Now, if in Hebrew, if you put the pronoun ahead of the verb, then it's not a completed action normally. So in other words, you're going to drive, okay? But because it's got the yud there in the vav conversive, you're going to reverse that and say, I already did drive, okay? So I drove to the market last week. Or I'm going to drive, you would reverse it with a vav conversive, I'm going to drive to the market next week. So anyway, that's the nature of the vav conversive here. The qual verb is these three letters, the root. It means to take. But because it's reflecting on the vav conversive nature, he's already taken. If it wasn't for the vav conversive, if you take the vav off the front of it, for example, it no longer is a vav conversive, so it would change it to he's going to take. Okay, so here we've got vayikach. So this is a completed action, so we're going to translate it took, just like it is in the Bible here. If you look at the screen right below the highlighted word, you see now he took men. The men is assumed here. Korach is the name of the one who did the taking. So Korach, come on, help me out here. Korach is the one who took men. Korach was the son of Yitzhar, who was the son of Kohat, who was the son of Levi, and Datan and Aviram, two people, two first names, together are B'nai Eliav. He's the son. These are the sons of Eliav. And On is the son of Pelet, excuse me. Pelet, B'nai Reuven. These are sons of Reuben. So these are the ones that Korach took with him. Okay. Next verse. Vayakumu. Okay. This is the root. And if you'll notice, it's got the Vav conversive at the beginning of it. And kum literally means to rise up, to exalt oneself, or to erect a pole in 4 curtains or whatever. So they rose up. It's like here they rose themselves up. Before, Panay means the face of, to the face of Moses. They rose up to the face of Moses. Does that tell you they're upset? Are they doing something that's not good here?
Yeah.
So they rose up in Moses' face.
I'm not able to see up top or make adjustments. There you go.
What do you need?
You got it fixed now. Well, it's because it's zoomed. You're still zoomed.
I know I am, and I did it on purpose. Okay, so now I'm unzoomed. So they rose up before Moses, the face of Moses, with certain of the children of Israel. So they got a bunch of guys together with them, and they're getting up in Moses' face. Are you following me? And 250 of the princes of Israel in the assembly who were well known in the congregation, men of renown. Okay? So they collected these princes who were renowned in the congregation. And behind Moses' back, they went up to him and started turning people against Moses. I think something not good is about to happen, don't you? God doesn't put up with that kind of stuff. Next verse. Vayikalu. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And they said unto them, Rav lechem. Rav means great. Lechem means y'all. You have taken to yourselves too much, is the understanding of it. Because all of the congregation, kulam, all of them, every one of them, kodashim, are holy. And among them is Yahweh. Wherefore then, do you lift yourselves up above the congregation of the Lord? Now, did Moses lift himself up, or did he try to run from this job?
He tried to run.
Yeah, he tried to get out of it more than.
But Lord, I'm a man of stammering lips. I can't talk so good. And so he brought Aaron to be his prophet, and he said, you'll be like a god to Pharaoh. So here he has these rude, crude, socially unacceptable people rising up against him and Aaron. But who chose Moses and Aaron? It was Yahweh. So they are putting themselves up above Yahweh and Aaron and Moses. That's a very bad thing to do. Next, verse 4. Vayishma Moshe. Okay. Vayifel. Vayifel. It means, and he, Moses, fell. All panav, on his face. So that's when he heard. Notice here this verb is a vav conversive again, so it's putting the time frame in the completed action form. Even though the pronoun comes at the beginning of it, you're going to read it as though it's that the pronoun is at the end, which means it's completed. So, and he fell on panav, his face. Then, vaydaber, and he spoke to, and here we have, this is a verb, he spoke. Spoke is a verb. The Hebrew pronoun he is at the beginning of the verb, so therefore with the vav conversive added in, it's still going to be counted as a completed action. He spoke unto Korach and unto all of his dato, of his company, his assembly. And he said, Boker Vayoda Yahweh Baboker. In the morning, Vayada, Yahweh will make you know at Asher Lo, who is his. The et and HaKodesh, holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. I'm going to switch over to English here. Even those who he has chosen, whom he will cause to come near unto him. So he says, tomorrow in the morning, you're going to know who God has chosen.
She was wanting you to explain how did they mean the word morrow. It's you know, it's, I mean,
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. How they just shorten, take out the two and put morrow.
Because in this case, there's nothing to indicate it, but it's understood to be the next morning, tomorrow morning, and that's why it's tomorrow. And then he will make you know who is his and who is holy, and cause him to come near unto him, even whom he has chosen, whom he will cause to come near unto him. This is Yahweh's action. This isn't Moses' action.
Yeah, everything's been Yahweh.
Zot osu. This means this. Asu means y'all do. Kahu, take to you censers, Korach and all of his company, and put in them fire, and put in them incense before Yahweh. And tomorrow, mahar means literally tomorrow. That's what mahar means. Mahar, tomorrow. And it shall be the man whom Yahweh has chosen. He shall be holy, who Yahweh will choose. This is actually understood, he will choose, because look what's at the beginning of it. Choose is a verb. So there's a yud at the beginning of it, so that means he's going to do this tomorrow.
Just choose, yeah, he's going to choose.
He's going to choose. He shall be holy. And then he says, Rav Lechem B'nai Levi. You have taken too much upon yourselves, sons of
Sons of
Levi.
Levi. I like that.
And Moses said unto Korach, to rise up against Moses and Aaron. He brought you near to himself to do the service of the Mishkan, the tabernacle of the appointments. Yahweh, and to stand before the congregation to minister. So you have really taken a big thing upon yourself. You don't like the choice God made for you, so you're coming against me and Aaron. You want our jobs. We'll let God decide that. Are you following me?
Yes.
Because he's real. And I don't need you guys to come around here causing people to be stirred up against us. Vayakrav, and he brought near unto you, Otakah, and all of the brethren, the sons of Levi, with you, and seek you also the priesthood? It's not sounding so good for these guys, does it?
Yep.
Verse 11, for which cause are you and all your company gathered together against Yahweh, Aaron, and what is he that murmurs, that you murmur against him? You're murmuring against Aaron. So, for what cause have you done this? They don't have a cause. It's the devil. El Diablo made me do it.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yes, for sure.
Verse 12, Vayishlach Moshe. There's another verb, shalach, to send forth. To send forth. And it's a vav conversive, so he's already done it. Moses sent forth to call Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, which said, we will not come up. Now they're rebelling. Is it a small thing that you have brought us up out of the land which flows with milk and honey? In other words, Egypt. To kill us in the wilderness? And you make yourself a prince over us, a ruler over us? Moreover, not unto the land that flows with milk and honey have you brought us, or given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. The eyes of men, of these men, will put out. Tanakir, you will put out. Not we will come up. No, we will not come up. I think they got a bit of a tude. And God's just the God who can fix that. Moses was angry, Mayod, exceedingly angry. Vayomer el Yahweh, and he said unto Yahweh, Al tepen, do not respect Vayikhu, and take every man his censer, and put in them incense, and bring you before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers, and you also and Aaron, each of you his censer. Verse 18, and they took, and I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to English. Each man took his fire pan. Oops. That's what I intended to do. Each man took his fire pan and put fire in it, laid incense in it, and stood at the entrance of the tent of the meeting with Moses and Aaron. Korach assembled all the group who were against them at the entrance of the tent of the meeting. Then the word glory in Hebrew is kavod. And it means the weight, heaviness of Yahweh appeared to the whole assembly. Yahweh said to Moses and to Aaron, "Separate yourself from this assembly. I'm going to destroy them right now."
Oh my goodness. Woo.
I don't think Yahweh is very happy.
Nope.
They fell on their faces, this is Moses and Aaron, fell on their faces and said, "O God, God of the spirits of all humankind, if one person sins, are you going to be angry with the entire assembly?" Yahweh answered Moshe, "Tell the assembly to move away from the homes of Korach, Dathan, and Abiram." Moses got up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the leaders of Israel followed him. And there he said to the assembly, "Leave the tents of these wicked men. Do not touch anything that belongs to them, or you may be swept away in all of their sins." So they all moved away from all around the area where Korach, Dathan, and Abiram lived. Then Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the entrance of their tents. Such an attitude. With their wives and their sons and their little babies. And Moshe said, "Here is how you will know that Yahweh has sent me to do all of these things, that I haven't done them out of my own ambition. If these men die a natural death like other people, only sharing the fate common to all humanity, then Yahweh has not sent me." If they just die, then Yahweh didn't send me. But if Yahweh does something new, if the ground opens up and swallows them with everything they are, and they go down alive into Sheol, in other words, the opening in the ground, then you will understand that these men have had contempt for Yahweh. The moment he finished speaking, the ground under them split apart. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all of the people who had sided with Korach, and everything they owned. So they and everything they owned went down alive into Sheol. The earth closed over them, and their existence in the community ceased. And all of Israel around them fled at their shrieks and shouting. The earth might swallow us too. Then fire came out from Yahweh and destroyed the 250 men who had offered incense. Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell Eleazar the son of Aaron the Cohen to remove the fire pans from the fire and scatter the smoldering coals at a distance, because they have become holy. Also the fire pans of these men who sinned cost them their lives have become holy, because they were offered before Yahweh. Therefore have them hammered into plates to cover the altar. This will be a sign for the people of Israel." Eleazar the Cohen took the brass fire pans which the men who had burned to death had offered, and they hammered them into a covering for the altar, to remind the people of Israel that an ordinary person not descended from Aaron is not to approach and burn incense before Yahweh. If he wants to avoid the fate of Korach and his group, as Yahweh had said to him through Moses. But the very next day, oh boy, he came to the front of the tent of the meeting. Yahweh said to Moses, "Get away from this assembly." It was really hacked off. But Moses and Aaron fell on their faces. And Moses said to Aaron, "Take your fire pan, put fire from the altar in it, lay incense in it, and hurry with the assembly to the assembly to make atonement for them, because the anger has gone out from Yahweh and the plague has already begun." So Aaron took it as Moses had said and ran into the middle of the assembly. And there the plague had already begun among the people. But he added the incense and made atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. God was killing them right there, right then.
Yeah, he sure was.
Those dying from the plague number 14,700, besides those who died in the Korach incident. Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance to the tent of the meeting, and the plague was stopped. Yahweh said to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel, and take from the staff of the mean." Everyone listen. Pay attention. The staff of everyone who God chose sprouted. Am I there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sprouted the buds. The leaf stems came out.
But where it says, "The rod of the man whom I choose shall bud."
Mm-hmm. Well, he chose all of those that budded. So Moses, I'm sorry?
So her question was, why did the ground swallow them up, which you already answered.
Yeah,
But if you can get the
it was
point
not
across-
going to be a normal, regular death. But Yahweh himself will bury him in the pit. Sheol will sprout buds. In this way, I will put a...
They rebelled against God, the authority of God, the authority of Moses, again and again and again.
And that's why God chose to give them a different death than anybody else has ever experienced.
They
Even
did not-
after every
they-
miracle
I need
and
to
after
mute it,
all
please.
they've been through.
They
These
they did not recognize his servants.
That's right. And in doing so, they did not recognize their God, because he's the one that chose them.
They're not recognizing him as the true king.
even after everything they've been through. At this point.
Okay, verse 21, and Moses spoke to the people of Israel. All their leaders gave him their staffs, one for each leader, according to their ancestral tribes, 12 staffs. Aaron's staff was among their staff. Moses put the staffs before Yahweh in the tent of the testimony. The next day Moses went and to the tent of the testimony, and there he saw Aaron's staff, for the house of Levi had budded. It sprouted not only buds, but flowers and ripe almonds also. Hey, this rod doesn't have roots in the ground. How's it bearing almonds? Moses brought out all the staffs from before Yahweh to the people of Israel, and they looked, and each man took back his staff. Yahweh said to Moses, return Aaron's staff to its place in front of the testimony. It is to be kept there as a sign to the rebels, so that they will stop grumbling against me and thus not die. Moses did this, and he did as Yahweh had ordered. But the people of Israel said to Moses, oh no, we're dead men, we're lost,
We're undone.
we're grass, and there's a lawnmower coming.
Speaking their own fate.
We are all lost. Whenever anyone approaches the tabernacle of Yahweh, he dies. We will all perish.
Well, we all perish.
We're grass, and the lawnmower is coming.
In other words, we want power, we want authority, we're not going to get it.
On second thought, maybe not.
Oh no, we're doomed.
Stubborn people.
So Yahweh said to Aaron, your sons and your father's family line will be responsible for anything that goes wrong in the sanctuary. You and your sons with you shall be responsible for anything wrong in your service as Kohanim. But you are to bring your kinsmen and the tribe of Levi along with yourselves to work together with you to help you, and your sons will be with you. And when you are before the tent of the meeting, They are to be at your disposal and perform all kinds of tasks related to the tent. Only they are not to come near the holy furnishings or the altar, so that neither they or you will die.
Rabbi?
Yes.
It may just be me, but the text now, whatever you just did or whatever she just did, became clear. But when she zooms out, your text has been fading out. And I think even C. Esmeralda's been having problems reading it.
Okay, I'll fix it for you. Is that better? Bring it back up.
Much.
Okay, there you go. I fixed the problem. I don't know why, but rabbis have to be everythingers.
A little bit here and there.
But you are to bring your kinsmen, the tribe of Levi, along with you to work together with you and help you and your sons with you when you are there before the tent of the meeting. They are to be at your disposal and perform all kinds of tasks related to the tent. Only they are not to come near the holy furnishings or the altar, so that neither they or you will die. They will work together with you in your duties. Let me get down to the next verse. I think I went...
You went a little too far.
You're at 4.
A little bit more.
No, he was at 4. He was at verse 4.
Okay. You will take charge of all the holy things of the altar. This is Aaron and his sons, so that there will no longer be anger against the people of Israel. I myself have taken your kinsmen, the Levim, from among the people of Israel, and they have been given as a gift to Yahweh for you, so that you can perform the service of the tent of the meeting. You and your sons with you will exercise your prerogatives and duties as Kohanim in regard to everything I've given having to do with the altar within the curtain. I entrust the servants required of the Kohanim unto you, but the unauthorized person who tries to perform it is to be put to death.
Now, Moses was not a Levite. She was asking. He is a Levite?
Moses? Well, no, he was a Levi, but Aaron was the high priest.
Right. Okay.
The high priest was also a Levi, but he was picked by God to be the high priest. Yahweh said to Aharon, I myself have put you in charge of the contributions given to me. Everything is consecrated by the people of Israel. I have given and set aside for you and your sons. This is a perpetual law, a never-ending law. Here is what is to be yours of the especially holy things taken from the fire. Every offering they make, that is, every grain offering, sin offering, and guilt offering of theirs that they turn over to me, will be especially holy for you and your sons. You are to eat it in an especially holy place. Every male may eat of it. It will be set apart for you. Also, yours is the contribution of the people of Israel give in form of wave offerings. I have given these to you, your sons, and your daughters with you. This is a perpetual law. Everyone in your family who is clean may eat it. All the best of the olive oil, the wine, and the grain, the first portion of what they give to Yahweh, I have given to you. The first produce to ripen of all that is in their land, which they bring to Yahweh, is to be yours. Every clean person in your family may eat it. Everything in Israel which has been consecrated unconditionally is to be yours. Everything that comes first out of the womb of all living things that they offer to Yahweh, whether human or animal, will be yours. However, the firstborn of a human being you must redeem, and the firstborn of an unclean right thigh, they will be yours. All the contributions of the holy things which the people of Israel offer to Yahweh, I have given to you and your sons and your daughters with you. This is a perpetual law. an eternal covenant of salt before Yahweh for you and your descendants with you. And salt, of course, is understood to be perpetual. If you take salt and bury it in the ground, the whole thing around it could all become corrupted, but right there where the salt was, it remains salt. It doesn't deplete or go away. Might get rained on and diluted with water, but it's still salt right there in that same area. Yahweh said to Aaron, you are not to have any inheritance or portion in their land. I am your portion and inheritance among the people of Israel. To the descendants of Levi I have given the entire tenth of the produce collected in Israel. It is their inheritance in payment for the service they render in the tent of the meeting. From now the people of Israel are not to approach the tent of the meeting, so that they will not bear the consequences of their sin and die. Only the Levim are to perform the service in the tent of the meeting, and they will be responsible for whatever they do wrong. This is to be a permanent regulation through all your generations. They are to have no inheritance among the people of Israel, because I have given the Levim as their the wine vat. In this way, you will set aside a gift for Yahweh from all of your tents that you receive from the people of Israel, and from these tents you are to give to Aaron the Cohen the gifts set aside for Yahweh. From everything given to you, you are to set aside all that is due to Yahweh, the best part of it. It is holy portion. Therefore, you are to tell them when you set aside from it the best part, I will account the Levim as if it were a grain offering from the threshing floor and a grape juice from the wine vat. You may eat it anywhere you and your household, because it is your payment in return for your service in the tent of the meeting. Moreover, because you will have set aside from it the best parts, you will not be committing any sin because of it, for you are not to profane the holy things of the people of Israel, or you will die. And so that's the end of the Torah Parashat Korach. Okay, I think we'll skip the Brit Hadashah and Haftarah portions and take a look at the Rosh Hodesh, the new moons.
Okay.
And you should have a handout there on your table. I'm going to need one, and I don't have one, so.
Here you go.
There should be plenty printed, so thank you. Shane, you can pick up another one over there. Yeah, thanks. I want you to turn, I'm going to turn for you. You can read it on the screen. I'm going to go to Colossians chapter 2 and verse 16. This is Rav Shaul reading or writing to the hole to the head, from which the whole body, receiving supply and being held together by its joints and ligaments, grows as God makes it grow. If along with the Messiah you died to the elemental spirits of the world, then why, as if you still belong to the world, are you letting yourselves be bothered by its rules? Don't touch this, don't eat that, don't handle the other. Such prohibitions are concerned with things meant to perish by being used, not by being avoided. They are based on man-made rules and teachings. Yeah, God said, don't eat pork. So how is that man-made rules? It's not. We're going to have to learn to hear with distinguishing ears and properly discern God's word. They do indeed have the outward appearance of wisdom with their self-important self-imposed religious observances. I'm talking about the Orthodox Jewish community now, because they've got the oral traditions passed along that they say has more weight than the Torah. No, no, no. False humility and asceticism. But they have no value at all in restraining people from indulging in their old nature.
And then you've got Christmas, Easter,
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day. What else you want to throw in there, by the way, while you're at it? Oh, and then there's other days that my mom has brought up. People of Israel today, in modern Israel, are celebrating and observing in droves, and yet where are God's holy appointed times within Israel itself?
If you say to a conventional Orthodox Jew, I keep Shabbat too, then they're going to ask you some questions, and it's a setup. They're going to say, did you light 2 candles on Friday night? And who lit them? And who prayed over the candles? And what was the prayer that you prayed? Because they're going to judge you because you're not keeping it the way they do. But who says the way they do is correct?
So I think the answer to that is, why do you ask?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Ask a question back at them. Why are you asking all
why
this?
are you asking this? Why is that necessary?
Because I want to know if you're really keeping Shabbat or if you're just using your own imaginations to keep Shabbat.
I keep it. God knows how I'm keeping it.
I know.
So, yeah.
You
No,
got
but
a
no,
lot.
but I'm-
You're
but to
loaded
answer
for
that-
bear, and
Yes,
they're
I'm
gonna
very-
die. Yes,
I
yes,
sure
yes.
am.
But the point that I want to make here is, don't let anyone.
That the most, believe it or not, so far from the Indian cultures, it's very heavy in that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not involved with the Muslim faith. They're involved with these angelic type of new age. They've used all of these fancy words and all of these fancy things. Do not be confused by them. They will try. They look and appear and seem innocent. And this is something I'll bring up to you at another time. But I'm dealing with the fact that a meetup gathering or meetup group for one of my clients.
Yeah.
It started to allow a group to penetrate in with this mindset and propagating this.
Yeah. Well, that's their problem.
Man,
That's
God
not your
told me to be
problem.
silent.
And if they get too heavy into it and you don't feel you're supposed to participate, then I would say make like a tree and get the leaf out of here.
Amen. Amen.
Or you could make like a deliverance team and get the devil out of there.
Yep. Wow. Yep.
Okay, I want to show you this word. Pass judgment. Don't let anyone else pass judgment on you concerning eating of foods. In other words, we eat kosher foods. Oh, yeah, but you do it with your hands washed. What business is that of yours?
Or the big one. Do you eat a cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Like a big deal about that one I've found lately.
Don't let anyone pass judgment on you concerning eating and drinking, or in regard to a Jewish festival, or Rosh Chodesh, the new moons, or Shabbat, how you keep Shabbat. Do you do the special blessing on Friday evening before Shabbat, and do you do the special closing at the end of Shabbat? Why do you need to know that? I'm keeping Shabbat for Yahweh, not for you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yes. These are a shadow of things that are coming, but the body is of the Messiah.
Amen.
So, as concerning the Rosh Chodesh, we have New Covenant writings that tell us that the church at Corinth, or Colossia rather, were observing the new moons. They were keeping Shabbat. They were keeping the holy days. But they weren't necessarily doing it exactly the same way as the conventional Jewish community was. And so the conventional Jewish community will rule against you and say, oh, you're not really keeping, Rosh Hodesh or Shabbat or the holy days. You're not doing it right.
So we should not feed to their fire by even giving any explanation.
What if it's you? What if you're not doing it right?
Ask the question with the question. Put
Yeah.
it back on them.
Yeah, why? Why are you asking this?
Let
The next
source of
key
this
here is
spirit
don't
be
let
revealed by the words of
anyone
their mouth.
deny you the prize.
Amen.
They're trying to deny you the prize of keeping the Sabbath.
If I can't have it, nobody will.
Yeah. Did you know that the conventional Jewish community are instructed not to let Jewish converts that are coming into the faith even keep the Shabbat correctly? They insist that they live in where their synagogue is so that on Shabbat they can walk as far as they have to get there and they're not found guilty because it's within the ribbon or boundary that's
but the
put
moment,
around.
so that's what they're using, the rope in New York. They were showing how they rope
Yeah.
the whole entire huge place of community, and anyone caught trying to get out of that rope will be...
Okay, the rest of this handout is devoted to showing you the scriptures for keeping Rosh Hodesh. So if you go to page 2, the biblical year, as shown in Exodus 12, 1 and 2, begins with the Rosh Hodesh, the holy, the new moon. It's not the full moon, it's the new moon.
It's okay to put the crescent moon. You told me before it was the crescent, the very crescent.
Okay.
That's a new moon?
Mm-hmm.
It's the waning.
The waning?
Yeah, it's very sliver.
Just before it disappears totally.
Okay. Just very sliver, right? Just a
Mhm.
little sliver.
So this will become, this Exodus right at Passover, that will become the first month for you. How do you celebrate Rosh Hashanah? Also, on your days of rejoicing at your designated times and on Rosh Hodesh, you are to sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings. These will be your reminder before your God. I am Yahweh, your God. So by sounding the shofar, Fina, would you come help me blow shofars, please?
Mr. Spears has it.
Okay, y'all need you to zoom out.
Oh, sure.
And put it over in the corner because that's where we're going to stand.
Sure.
Make it harder on ourselves.
Yeah, we kind of did that.
Yes.
What did you do?
What do you mean?
The camera's been lost.
Just unplug and replug
From where?
from there.
From here?
Mm-hmm.
Take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I can put it back in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Change to a Bible shot chain instead of the question.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Click off of that shot.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell him.
Oh, wow.
Just bear with us, people. Y'all out there in the internet world. Is it back?
Yes.
Okay.
I need the external display though, Shane. I'll put settings. Hey.
Okay, now we're back.
Maximize your screen.
Okay, so we're going to be blowing the shofar, which is one of the instructions for observing the Rosh Hodesh.
Hallelujah.
And so we're going to use our traditional series of sounds that we make on Shabbat as the series that we use tonight for Rosh Hodesh.
Okay.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu shalom
Rosh
Rosh
Hodesh.
Hodesh.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, sanctify us by your commandments and command us concerning the keeping of the Rosh Hodesh.
Amen.
And now we're going to blow the shofar in honor of the beginning of the month, the Rosh Hodesh, which is tonight. Is it tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm making sure.
8:33.
Hallelujah. Okay.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu shemoach kol hashofarot b'Rosh Hodesh.
Yes.
He commanded us to hear the sound of the shofar on the Rosh Hodesh.
Hodesh.
Amen.
The new month.
So
And
that's
Sound like on the E.
that's essentially the blasting of the shofar, and then we also are supposed to eat a shalom offering together.
Now there's also a let's see. Yeah, there are other sacrifices that are done, and you can find that in Numbers chapter 28, verse 11 through 15. But because we don't have the temple in this time, we're continuing. However, still the Lord instructs us to do it perpetual.
But we are
That
the
we are.
temple.
We are the temple. That's right.
Thank you.
And so, for those of you online just joining us in our new to Rosh Hodesh, I'll just let you know what the prayers are said. And so we recite Psalm 10, it's a call to triumph over evil. Psalms 81, a call to repentance. Psalm 100, which is a thanksgiving of praise as we enter his gates. Psalms 113 through 118, that's part of the Hallel that is usually sung even during the Passover. And at the conclusion of this ceremony, the service, we read another praise unto the Lord, Psalms 104, praise for his sovereignty. And let's see, there was supposed to be another.
I think that's sufficient.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and study this, and on your own time, you can study it over.
If I may, one more thing.
Please.
Okay. If you want to search it out yourself, there is another blessing for Rosh Chodesh. It's called Berchat HaKodesh, and you can find that online at zimmerotdatabase.org.
Okay.
Hey, that's cool. I just did Psalms 104 this morning.
Cool. All right.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and close out the broadcast tonight.
Okay.
It's been a joy to be here. I'm glad that you were able to see our broadcast and join with us as we studied tonight. And I pray that it's been a blessing to you, and that maybe through part of our dialogue on the Rosh Hodesh, you've learned how to keep the Rosh Hodesh and know that it's okay for you to keep it, because even the Gentiles at Colossia were keeping the Rosh Hodesh. and all the Sabbath and the holy days and everything. So, yes, even Gentiles are supposed to keep the holy days. All right. If you have any questions or comment, you can always write me at asktherabbi@tzion.org. And there it is up on your screen. asktherabbi@tzion.org. So I'd be happy to respond to you, or either Fina or I, one, will send a response to you if you have a question about any of this. Okay, well, let's go ahead and call that good for tonight. And please come join us again on Shabbat for our regular Shabbat service. And we'll have a good time celebrating, singing, worshiping, praying, and having a good time before the Lord.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us for another delightful weekly Torah class. We hope to see you again this coming Shabbat. We hope to see you again this coming Shabbat at 10 a.m. for our Bible's Issues class, and then followed by our 11 a.m. main service. For our main service, that was repetitious. Main service with liturgy, worship, and another teaching. We'll see you again. Shalom.